This show today concerns and touches Africa, the security situation in Africa. In particular, we shall be touching the situation in Sudan. What are the root causes? What has caused the war? What is behind all this friction between the two generals and the two armies that are fighting in Sudan? Ladies and gentlemen, from this topic, therefore, I'll give just an exclusive analysis of the factors that have affected the country called Sudan. And I will be doing so in reference to my letter that I have written to the United Nations previously, two letters that I've written to the United Nations Secretary General, and in reference to the letter that I've just written to the Secretary General or the Chairperson of African Union, Dr. Moussa Mahamat Faki. This letter spells down and narrates and puts candidly the situation that is prevailing in Sudan. I have not left any stone unturned, neither have I been biased in revealing the extent to which, if the conflict in the Sudan is not resolved, could work against the security concerns under Chapter 7 of the United Nations Charter and become a threat to the regional peace and international peace in the region, in the Horn of Africa, the Great Lakes region. I have written this letter today to the Secretary General to alert him that we have been not solving the problems of Africa in a proper manner. We have not been being candid, neither have we gone deeper to find out the root causes that bring in conflicts that have killed our continent for over 65 years. In my submission to the world, I've quoted quite a number of extensively the law that can allow African leaders to charge African people who commit crimes against humanity, war crimes, and crimes committed in form of genocide that are prevalent on the African continent. Ladies and gentlemen, the situation in Sudan calls for mature, quick intervention. The humanitarian catastrophe that we see of people that have been cut off from their families and the people who are caught by the current spurt of fighting calls for the international community, all of us well-minded people, to intervene to save the situation in Khartoum and Sudan in general. The point today is very clear, and that point is, what is the main root cause? The generals might not be saying it to us, and I want to be the one candidly to say it to us, because I've got privy to some of them. I've got privy to some of their discussions. I've been following the track record of since they took power from General Bashir. Remember, the two generals that are fighting in Sudan are all members of one person, recruited by one person, or were in service with one person. General Bashir was removed from power, and he himself indicted by the International Criminal Court. The main factor that is destroying Sudan at the moment we should not beat about the bush. And the Secretary of State for America must not beat about the bush. He must come directly and tell the world why they are telling the ICC to indict, to airlift, to hand over the government, to hand over Bashir to stand the trial in The Hague. And yet, the Americans cannot allow even a half of their men or even a single baby to be tried under the international law in International Criminal Court. Ladies and gentlemen, this poses a question, therefore. Why do you want to airlift Mr. Bashir? Take him to where he didn't commit crimes. Mr. Bashir committed crimes in Sudan. If you allegedly say he committed crimes, allegedly committed crimes of which he is accused, he can be tried in Sudan. Why are we fighting so hard to airlift Mr. Bashir, to create employment on the Africans who are airlifted, delivered to The Hague for international metros to earn a living on our people when they are being looked after in jail? Doesn't Africa have enough jail? Doesn't Africa have the capacity to detain a person found guilty of crimes that we have allegedly said Mr. Bashir committed? What is it that people want Mr. Bashir to be airlifted and taken to the ICC? This is the point that is tackling, eating the two generals. Whichever side you fall to, whoever you want to support, there is that element of the two generals disagreeing in heart, in brain, in stomach, in every facet of life, that we cannot hand over our commander-in-chief to the International Criminal Court. And it is that ICC factor that has made it very difficult for the people, for the generals to hand over power peacefully to a civilian-led government, because the civilian-led government has vowed to hand over Bashir to the International Criminal Court. Ladies and gentlemen, the people of Africa, the people of African Union, Dr. Muhammad Faki, you took over this union when we were functioning. You took over this union when we were resolving conflicts. For the last 7 years, you have made Africa hell, got through hell with your poor administration that has destroyed the caliber, the status of African Union. You have made it very difficult for African Union to speak the truth, for people in African Union to speak out to defend the African Union. You have discovered a loophole of making African Union an organization captured by the French, of which you are part and parcel of the capture, which you have done and used. And I have several examples to give out, that the people of the world must know that you are culpable for the death of Idris Deby of Chad. The rebels that killed Idris, why haven't you condemned them? You knew where they are. Today you are airlifting them to go and have a meeting in Qatar. How did you know? How have you asked them? You asked them who killed Idris Deby. Idris Deby is not my brother, but he was a president elected by the people of Chad. And if we were nurturing democracy on the African continent, why should we keep quiet when you have connived with the rebels in southern Libya, together with Egypt, General Sisi and others, and then you killed Deby in cold blood? You later on installed The AU did not come out clearly to tell us what action they had taken against Chad for having killed the president and the rebels who killed the president and came on television and said we killed him.